Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another live stream. I hope you're doing all fantastic today, tonight, whatever time it is that you are watching. Another late one tonight. I'm still on the same schedule, but it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be talking about how your triggers aren't what's important here, right? And let's see, I want to read exactly what I've got in the title. Anxiety is a hoax that you're keeping alive. Your triggers aren't the problem. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. A lot of people still getting caught up on triggers, right? A lot of people still getting caught up on specific thoughts. A lot of people still just getting caught up on problem solving in general, which we know problem solving is the problem. We know problem solving is second fear. We know problem solving is worry, right? And we know that this constant obsession and rumination and trying to figure it all out is the root problem of the quote unquote disorder. It's what keeps the nerves fragile. It's what keeps you in a state of frustration and anxiety and stress. We know that these things are the root problem, the problem solving, right? That's a good way that you could kind of sum it all up. So we're going to talk about tonight how that is a hoax, right? And you're keeping that hoax alive. And we're going to talk about how your triggers aren't the problem. And this is all going to come full circle, you could say. So it's going to be a good one tonight. We're going to give it a few minutes to let some people get in here who want to watch us live. We're also going to very quickly drop some live notifications. My bot that usually does it for me has not been so great here recently. So let's do that real quick. That way nobody misses out. Guys, we are also on the road to 11K. I think we're about 400 odd away from 11K. So if you're looking for a sign to subscribe, this is it. We've also been picking up the YouTube shorts here recently. A lot of people seem to enjoy those. I want to continue to put those out. They're good little 60-second or so reminders. So if you do enjoy the YouTube shorts and you want to see me make more of those, make sure you interact with those YouTube shorts. Only way we can grow the channel is with your interaction, right? So we just sent out some live notifications. We're going to wait patiently for a minute or two, let some people get in here, and then we're going to start the point of tonight's stream. Anxiety is a hoax that you're keeping alive. Your triggers aren't the problem. We're going to explain all of that. I've even got some notes here that I have written down, some pointers that I want to go over, some important pieces of information. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. What's up, Sky? What's up, Ghost? Jen? Mike? How's everybody doing? Let's see. All right, so we'll give it another minute and then we'll jump into this. I don't like to dive into the comments too heavily before we do the point of the stream. Don't want to get too distracted. Besides that, the stream will probably answer a lot of the questions that you guys might have. So we'll wait until after the point of the stream is over. Then we'll dive into some comments. We'll dive into some questions, see how that's going. All right, did my notifications send out? I believe they did. We'll send out one more because that never hurts. One more. Doesn't hurt to send out one more. Yo, hello, welcome to the stream. How you doing, dude? And while we're waiting, I'm going to send out a link, and then after that, I believe it'll be as good as time as any to go ahead and get started. Pull this up real quick. Alright, notifications have been sent out. Link is in the chat for anyone interested in the Discord. And besides that, let's go ahead and get started. Anxiety is a hoax that you're keeping alive. Your triggers aren't the problem. So, like I said, I do have some notes written down here of some important points that I wanted to go over tonight. Let's start with the very first one that I've got written down here. Not the real you / think of the past. Now, this is an example that I've brought up many times before. I think it's crucial. It's just a crucial understanding, right? So, before you were sensitized, and it may be so long ago that you don't have that great of a memory of it, but try to think really hard just for a moment here. Before you were sensitized, before this all became a big ordeal for you and you started down this path of recovery and, you know, what's wrong with me and what do I need to do and what's this about anxiety and what's this about tired nerves, before all this, before you found me, before it became a problem, think back to your past for a second and ask yourself, The things that are keeping your anxiety alive today. So every time you get anxious, right, you're worried over something. You add the worry, you add the second fear. The nerves are going to pop off because that's what tired nerves do. But every time that happens, most people tend to add the second fear, aka the worry. I want you to ask yourself a question. The things that are keeping your anxiety alive. So every time you're anxious and you add the worry, what is it that you're worried about? And it varies from person to person, right? Person A is worried about this, person B is worried about this, person C is worried about this. We call these triggers. And they vary. But I want you to think for a second, before this all became a big deal to you, before you started going down these rabbit holes, before you were in the shape that you're in now, did any of these things matter to you in the past, right? And I would love it if chat participates and answers these questions if you'd like to. So, did any of these things that are keeping your anxiety alive today, whatever your triggers are, whatever worries you, whatever sets you off, right? Did any of these things really bother you in the past? Did you think about these things in the past? Were you worried about these things in the past? Were you worried about that heart attack in the past? Were you worried about going crazy in the past? Did the thought of going crazy, and I'm just throwing examples here, but did the thought of going crazy in the past bother you? Or could you watch movies and television where, oh, there's crazy people on this movie, and that's funny, just kind of shrug it off? You never cared about the thought of going crazy in the past. You never questioned your heart's ability to keep pumping in the past. You never questioned anything regarding any of these triggers in the past. And if you did, you easily brushed them off, right? So just looking at your past and who you were before sensitization, before tired nerves, before all this worry that you've programmed into yourself here recently, however long it's been, right? Just looking at your past is kind of proof to my point tonight that this is a hoax, man. You have programmed yourself to be afraid of these. You've programmed your brain to be afraid of these things. You have wired your brain to be afraid of these things. But they're not real dangers. They're not something that would normally bother you. You're in a tired nervous system, and you have programmed your brain to react negatively to this, right? You're in a tired nervous system, and you've programmed your brain to react negatively to this. So understand that. You can look back at your past, you can understand that this is not the real you. This is not the person that you've always been. This is a hoax. This is something that you have wired yourself, whatever your triggers are, this is something that you have wired yourself to be afraid of. This is something that you've wired your brain to be afraid of. This is a hoax. So you're trying to solve these triggers. You're trying to problem solve these triggers. They're not the real problem. The problem is this is a hoax that you have programmed yourself to fall for. Right? And you can look back on the past to get all the proof that you need for that. So what sounds better? Next time you're triggered and you're worried, oh God, does that mean my heart's going to stop? Am I going to go crazy? Is this bad thing going to happen? These are all just examples. There's hundreds of different triggers. But next time you're doing that to yourself and you're sitting there worried, keeping all this second fear going, keeping these nerves tired, continuing to reinforce the bad habits, next time you're doing that to yourself, say, hey, you know what? This isn't the real me. This is not something that normally I would care about. Before, I never questioned my heart. Before, I never questioned my sanity, right? This is just a hoax that I've programmed myself into believing. So the next point that I've got written down here, right, is one that just goes right in line with this. And what I've got written down is look at those around you, right? So let's say you're scared of this, and that, right? Whatever your triggers are. It's hard to give examples because there's so many different examples of triggers. But let's say you're scared and you're worried over this and that and this and that, and you're sitting there worried about it. You're doing all this self-inflicted worry that's keeping you miserable. Just take a look at those around you, right? Take a look at those around you. Is that person sitting next to you, or are they concerned about their heart? Are they concerned about death? Are they concerned about going crazy? Are they triggered over can that person beside of you hold a conversation about your triggers and they be triggered? No, they're not going to be triggered. You might tell them they're your triggers and they might say, well, that's understandable, but they're not triggered themselves over your triggers. How come they're not bothered and you're bothered? How come that person in the line at the grocery store is not bothered by what you're bothered about? How come your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, how come they're not bothered by the things that you're bothered about? How come you're sitting there shaking, worried to death, and you're having all this anxiety over the thought of going crazy? Nobody else seems to care. It's because you programmed your brain to be afraid of that. You've programmed your brain by fighting with that trigger to be afraid of that. You have taught your brain through your own bad habits that you must take responsibility for, that going crazy or whatever your trigger is a real tiger, is a real danger, because you've argued with it so much that you have engraved that in your brain. So now it's become what we call a trigger. How come you're triggered by that and the person beside of you is not triggered by that? It's not because your brain structurally is any different, or that there's something off about you, right? It's just because you've programmed your brain to be that way. That's the only reason you're so worried and triggered over this, that, and the other, and the person beside of you could care less about that subject, could care less about that topic. It's just because that's how you've taught your brain to operate. It's a hoax, right? It's not because these triggers are valuable. It's not because these triggers are just oh so true. It's not because these triggers, are important. It's because you've trained your brain to be that way. That's the only reason they trigger you. That's why you can take all these people that you're so envious of and so jealous of because they're living this quote-unquote normal life while you're sitting here triggered over this, that, or the other. That's why they're not triggered over it and you are. That's why they could think about the same triggers and have no reaction, but yet you do. It's because you've trained your brain to be that way. And to reverse that, you've got to let these thoughts, these triggering thoughts, you got to let these triggering symptoms, you got to let these triggers happen while reminding yourself, okay, this is not the real me. I'm just going to see it right through, as Dr. Claire Weeks called it, and teach my brain that this does not deserve to be a trigger. You've got to teach your brain that this does not deserve to be a trigger. How? By facing the triggers, whether they're thoughts, feelings, situations. Face them, let the anxiety happen, while reminding yourself, we call it the accepting inner voice, hey, this is normal, it's not the real me. I'm going to teach my brain that this does not deserve the alarm, and you get on with living your life. That's the two main keys right there. So that's how you show the brain, the only way you show the brain, that this does not deserve to be a trigger, so that eventually you become the same as the person sitting beside of you who's not triggered by that thing. If you want to be like them, right, they're not triggered by it. If you want to be not triggered by it, then you need to face the trigger, let the anxiety happen, while reminding yourself with that accepting inner voice, it's not the real me. I've just trained my brain to be this way. I'm not going to try to problem solve that or argue with that. That'll just reinforce it. I'm just going to let it happen instead because I want to be like them. I want to be like the person beside of me who's not triggered by that thing. And the only way that I'm going to get there is to take responsibility for my own actions. That's the only way you'll get there, is if you take responsibility for your own actions. You can blame whoever you want to blame. You can blame life. You can blame this person. You can blame your rough childhood. You can blame whatever you want to blame. But until you start taking responsibility for the fact that you have falsely trained your brain to be afraid of things that it should not be afraid of, we call that triggers, till you take responsibility for that, right? We're just going to keep going in circles like a hamster on a hamster wheel. Right? Like a hamster on a never-ending hamster wheel. So at some point, you got to sit down, you got to tell yourself, look, this person and all these people around me, they're not afraid of this. They're not triggered by this. Why am I? I am because of my own choices. You probably didn't know any better. That's okay. But I am because of my own choices. I have fought with that thought so much that it's become a trigger. And now I'm blaming everything on that trigger. No, I need to take responsibility that my brain gives me so much anxiety over this topic, whatever that topic is, because of the way I argued with it, because of the way I fought with it, because of the way I mentally tried to problem solve it, instead of just letting it be, right? You got to take responsibility for that. So when that day comes that you're able to say, okay, if I want to be like all these people around me that I'm so envious of, so jealous because they don't have these triggers, then I'm going to have to face my triggers and let them happen. let the anxiety happen without the arguing, without the problem solving. I'm going to have to face these triggers with the accepting inner voice and just remind myself, okay, let it happen. This is not the real me. I'm going to show my brain the truth. You got to face these triggers with that attitude if you want to stop reinforcing them to the brain. And then you can be like the people that you're so envious of. Then you can be like the people that you're so jealous of. But it does take time, it does take dedication, it does take work. But there's got to be some sort of responsibility taken, right? Or else we just gather all this information and it doesn't get used, and we're here until we're 75 looking for the missing piece of the puzzle, still arguing with every thought and feeling and still reinforcing the triggers, right? That's what happens. So got to take responsibility. It's not the easiest thing in the world, I understand, because these feelings can be so intense. But you got to understand that the only difference between you and the people around you that aren't triggered over these things is that you've programmed yourself to be afraid of these things by arguing with them. And you can reverse that. You can reverse that by doing the opposite, by accepting the thoughts and feelings while you just remind yourself, hey, it's not the real me. I'm going to be like the people around me. All I got to do is face it. I got to face it, continue facing it. Eventually, I'll be just like the people around me that aren't triggered by these things. There's nothing different about you compared to the person who doesn't care about your triggers. You're so triggered over this thing, and person B thinks it's funny because they don't understand. I get that. They don't understand. They don't get it. But the reason they think it's funny or laughable or they just don't relate is because they didn't train their brain to be afraid of that thing. That's the only difference between you and person B. I want you, just for a moment, to pick out somebody in your head. I don't care who it is. Anybody. It could be someone you know, someone you look up to, whatever. And I want you to say, hey, what's the difference between me and that person? That person that I look up to. They just seem like they've got it all figured out. They're not scared of this thing. They just do these things. It's no big deal to them. They're not scared of the thought of that or the thought of that. I want you to think about that person for a second. I want you to understand one thing. You can be just like them. You could be just like them as long as you understand that the only difference between you and them, right, is that they have not trained their brain to be afraid of said thing. And if you want to get just like them, you allow your brain to be afraid of said thing while you stop adding the fight. You remind yourself, hey, gonna let this false alarm happen. I don't have to figure that trigger out because I know it's not the real me, it's a hoax. I'm gonna prove that to my brain, right? So the third and final thing that I've got written down here tonight, guys, is you're blaming the triggers and then trying to solve the triggers. And I'm gonna keep this one short, sweet, and simple. All I mean by is you're blaming the triggers and then trying to solve the triggers is you're telling yourself, well, if I can figure out that thought, if I can get this trigger to stop, if I can avoid this trigger, if I can reassure myself on this trigger, then I'll be okay. So you're blaming the triggers and then trying to figure out the triggers, and you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life. I'll just be honest. You'll continue reinforcing the OCD anxiety cycle, whatever you want to call it, all labels, right? You'll just continue to reinforce that cycle. As long as you blame the triggers and then try to figure out the triggers, you're going to have to use coping methods, compulsions, reassurance, whatever it is that you do to fight with these thoughts and feelings. You're going to have to do that for a very, 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 very long time because your brain's not going to make any progress, and it's just going to keep you in this cycle, right? So you're blaming the triggers for your misery, and then you're trying to figure out the triggers, and we call that compulsions, obsession, rumination, fighting, arguing. Well, now you're going to have to live your life like this, right? It's time to face these triggers without doing all that nasty stuff that just keeps the cycle, that nasty, gross stuff that just keeps the cycle alive. It's time to face the triggers without all that and with an accepting inner voice instead. One that says, hey, there's nothing different about me. Nobody else is triggered over this stuff. Right? The old me used to not be triggered over this stuff, so I know it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I'm not going to blame the triggers. I'm not going to try to figure the triggers out. I'm just going to allow them to happen, live my life, because I know it's a hoax. That's what you need to start doing if you want to make true progress and train your brain to be the way that you want it to be. To train the brain to be like the people you're so envious of. To train the brain to be like the person you used to be. You realize that it's a hoax, because this is not the real you. It's not who you used to be. And that's what you tell yourself while you face these triggers, right? Instead of going the reassurance route, the coping methods, the compulsions, all these things that keep it alive, right? So that's the points that I had written down here tonight. It's time to start facing and accepting with the accepting attitude instead of trying to resolve every thought and feeling that comes along. It's time to wake up from the hoax, from the trance, right? And understand that you are being bluffed, you are being tricked, and you're giving importance to things that you shouldn't be given importance to, right? It's one big hoax, and it's time to open your eyes and take some responsibility for that and put in that work, because you deserve to live a much better life than the life that you're currently living, and you can have that much better life if you're willing to put in the work. So that was the point of tonight's stream. That was a mouthful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. We are growing every single day. I would like to reach that 11K mark, sooner rather than later. So all the thumbs up really do help. If you're looking for a sign to subscribe, this is it. But yeah, that's it for the point of tonight's stream, guys. We're gonna hang out with chat for a little bit, read some comments. Apparently we had some really nasty storms here today that knocked out the power and everything, but I was asleep. So, and it seems to be nothing but a clear forecast now. So we're good. We're good. I don't think we'll have any interruptions tonight. Sanchez is in the house. We'll go ahead and get us some Miami Vice going then. Kate, what's up, Kate? Good to see you. Mike, Jesse, Sky's still here. What's up, everybody? Who is still here in the chat? Who's here in the chat? Sound off. Let me know you're here. Let's get our music. Where's our music? Let's see. There we go. Ooh, that's loud. I don't know if that's loud to you guys. It's loud to me. I've got the headphones cranked up. So, just try that approach, guys. If you're not finding much success in anything else, try that approach. Next time you're triggered over something, ask yourself, did this used to bother me? You're going to find that the answer to that question is no. So why does it bother you now? It's a hoax, right? So instead of worrying about the trigger or trying to resolve the trigger, just try to go that route. That could be your accepting inner voice. That very much could be your accepting inner voice. What's up, Rick? Welcome, Rick. How you doing, dude? Also, the way that I've decided, I've been thinking about it here lately, and the way that I've decided to go about the whole tip goal slash roof goal thing is to not have both on the screen at the same time, because I feel like that's overwhelming, and the last thing I'm trying to do is overwhelm anybody. So what we're going to do with that is we'll do our usual daily tip goal, and if we do hit that, then I'll put roof goal on the screen, and anybody who wants to contribute to that can do so. So that's what we're going to do instead of having both on the screen at the same time. If we hit the tip goals during the stream, we will work on the roof goal, and if we don't, we don't. But that's the way I've decided to go about that. Otherwise, I feel like it gets overwhelming and complicated and confusing. Sky is on one today. Sky is on one today. I look in chat and I am confused. Hey, I hope you're doing good, Sky, Kate, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastic. Believe it or not, I just woke up like 5 hours ago or something. Later than that, actually, like 3 or 4 hours ago. What's for dinner, Wonder Bro? It's fajita lettuce wraps for me. Been on the keto diet for 2 months now. I've heard about keto, but of course diets is not something that interests me, as you guys know. But that's fantastic, dude. I hope you benefit from it. Fun fact, I was such a picky eater, and I still am a picky eater, that I didn't eat lettuce on like anything until like a few years ago. I started eating lettuce simply because Taco Bell screwed up my order, and I got a bunch of cheese and beef tacos with lettuce, and I didn't feel like picking it all off because it's all shredded and messy and junk. So I just ate it, and I was like, hey, that's cool, that tastes alright. So that's what happens when you try new things. Interesting. So there you go, there's story time for today. 12 pounds down, love it, dude, keep it up. Keep it up. My boy, keep it up. Proud of you. What's up, Sue? How you doing? How you doing? Hi, Wonder Bro. What you said is so true for me. Which part? I'm curious. I'm curious. It's true for everybody, but whether or not they realize it is a different story. You've apparently realized it, which is great. I hope you all realize it, right? So what we're trying to do around here is make realizations. Help you guys make realizations. Some keto burritos. I like it. Well, I can't say I like it. I've never tried it, but I like the sound of it. Keto burrito. That this is not me. It's not you, and it's not anybody, right? This anxiety state is not your guys' true nature. It's an exaggerated state of exaggerated symptoms due to tired nerves. So these triggers that you've programmed yourself to believe so heavily in is a hoax, dude. It's not the real you, right? And that could be your accepting inner voice. I don't know. If you like the sound of that, roll with it. Next time you're anxious and you're tempted to fight these triggers, these intrusive thoughts, or you're tempted to worry over them, that could be your accepting inner voice reminding yourself, hey, this didn't bother me before. So the fact that it's bothering me now means it's a freaking hoax, dude. It's a lie. I'm not going to give this any more power by trying to fight with it or problem solve it. Why should I? It didn't bother me before. The only reason it bothers me now is because I've accidentally programmed my brain to behave this way. So forget about it. I'm not going to try to figure it out anymore. That's what's reinforcing the anxiety and keeping me in this cycle. And I'm not going to do that anymore because I know the real me. I know the real me before all this junk, right? And that's proof enough. That is proof enough. If you really understand what I'm trying to say and you realize it, internalize it, that's proof enough that you don't have to problem solve these things, that it's just false wiring. It's just bad wiring, and there's nothing that needs to be solved. And once you drop that desire and that need to solve, you're going to step out of second fear, and you're going to start the true healing process. So anybody here tonight or anybody that watches this in the future, I really want you to think on that at least for a second or two, dude. I want you to try to internalize that, because that's just such a major point. A major point to be made, right? Right? You weren't born this way. We got an ad. We know that the Miami Vice copyright safe music, royalty free, that's exactly what it says. 80s retro synthwave mix. We know that it's full of ads. But yeah, you weren't born this way. You had periods of your life, I'm sure. Maybe they're far off, but you can glimpse them a little bit. You had periods of your life where none of these worries bothered you. They just bother you now because that's how you've falsely wired your brain to behave. Doesn't mean the trigger needs figured out, so stop arguing with it, stop fighting with it, stop trying to solve it. That's just what's continuing to reinforce it. That's not the real problem anyway, and that's why I've got that in the title. The triggers are not the real problem anyway. It's the bad wiring, the false wiring. You want to redo the wiring, you want to reverse it, just realize that. Just realize that it's false wiring. Next time you're really triggered over a certain thought or whatever, and you're tempted to worry, just remind yourself, there's nothing to figure out. This is not the real me. Just let it happen. Just let it happen so I can rewire my brain. I don't have to problem solve anymore. You really understand. If you really understand what I'm trying to say tonight, it'll change your life. No exaggeration. It'll quite literally change your life if you're willing to try to hear me out. And that part's up to you. I can't make you do that part. I wish I could. But if you're willing to hear me out, and you're willing to understand and realize and internalize what I'm saying, and I'll continue to repeat it until you do. I'll do my best to try to get it into your heads, right? But if you can adopt this new accepting attitude of, wait, this is not the real me. There's nothing to solve, right? I can be calm without having to solve this. I don't need to solve it. It's just bad wiring. Eventually the calm will happen because you're finally accepting. You're no longer arguing. You're no longer fighting. Right? So hopefully All I can do is hope that some eyes have been opened tonight. That's all I can do, right? Hope that some eyes have been opened tonight, and that you guys, whoever needs to hear it, will stop trying to problem solve, aka worry, aka second fear, aka all that gross stuff. Jesse, commenting left and right tonight. I love it, dude. How have you been? Since I've taken your advice and accepted the thoughts, I'm that much closer to being free. I love it. Continue to try to find and practice, most importantly, practice your accepting inner voice. Remind yourself it's not the real you. There's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to solve. Let that trigger happen while you keep that attitude, right? Now you're on the road to true healing. Now you're on the road to true healing. Thank you, Wonder Bro. Absolutely, Sue. Drop likes and sub. Appreciate you, Jesse. Thank you, dude. Hopefully, streaming at this time is not too inconvenient for anybody, but as long as my sleep schedule continues to be as screwed up as it is, we will probably continue to stream around this time, I would say. And for anyone joining us late, I highly recommend that you watch this stream back. It's been a good one. It's been a good one. You know I love some Alan Watts, Jesse. You know I love me some Alan Watts. Good evening, Moon. How you doing? How you doing? What time is it for you, Sanchez? What time is it for everybody around the world here? I want to see. It's about 11 p.m. my time, so I want to see what that equates to for everyone else. I'm curious. Let's put it on my favorite song here. There we go. I don't know why I like this track so much. It kind of it gives me like a it gives me like a Stranger Things vibe, and I think that's why I like it so much. Gaming stream tonight? I don't know, possibly. I've been wanting to do a part 3 on our raft playthrough, because those gaming streams are getting more views than I anticipated. I was surprised, actually. 9:45 p.m. Nice. 12:45 midday. Okay. 10:45, so same time zone as me, Rick. Almost 6 a.m. in Israel. Okay. Interesting. We got people from all over the place. I love it. 10:45. So I got a handful of people that are in my time zone, if not close to it. All right. It's always cool to see where everybody's from. Get all the different time zones. That's why I'm never like too bothered by streaming at random times, because it's actually not a bad thing at all. It gives people in different time zones, at least, an opportunity to catch us live. What is gravity and how does it work? Once we start diving into other subjects, I'm not too hot in other subjects. I failed. Well, I wouldn't say I failed, but I barely passed most of my classes. So, if you're wanting any sort of input on gravity and how it works, I don't know if this is the right channel. It keeps things down, and that's all I've got for you. I'll be honest. The biggest reason why I didn't pass most of my classes, or barely passed most of my classes, is because I simply was not interested in school whatsoever, which is not a good thing. But hey, I didn't like it. I wasn't interested. Studying, homework. I don't think anybody necessarily does like it, but for me, I was just like, nah, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't understand how water stays in this place if there is a north and south. What's that theory that's like going around these days? Flat Earth? I don't know. Maybe that's why. Beats me. You can look into that. To be fair, I haven't used hardly anything that I've learned from school. Um, so, not that I learned much, but it hasn't come in handy yet. You know, I got the calculator in my pocket with my phone, so it's all you need, really. Sky! Sky! I appreciate you, dude. Sky with the $3 tip. Thanks for helping me. I'm always watching you. Was it really Sky? Was it not really Sky? The world may never know, but we got a $3 tip and credit goes to Sky. So there it is. Thank you. Appreciate you. First tip of the night. Thank you, thank you. We are on a 154 day streak, chat. 154 days. Crazy. Wonder Bro and Sky killing in chat. To be fair, it normally does end up with me and you chatting back and forth about just about everything. So it does normally end up that way. There a good chunk of people that they come in to watch the point of the stream and then they dip, which is understandable because we talk about just all kinds of stupid stuff usually after the point of the stream's over. So I get it. Like, it makes sense. I can't say I blame them. Can't say I blame them. Help this man put the roof on fire. Well, we don't want to put it on fire, but we do want to put it on. I can agree with that. I can agree with that part of the equation. We need more Kate in this shizzle. I agree. Getting this shizzle, Kate. Kate, where you at? Where you at? Where you at, damn it? There she is. Kate. Typical says I'm helping Sky. Typical. Let's go. So full credit. Kate and Sky. Kate and Sky. That puts us at, let's see here, 8. Thank you. Thank you. What's your secret skill / talent? If I had to pick something, probably the amount of food that I can eat in one sitting. I can eat quite a bit. It's quite impressive. Today I'm feeling high emotional numbness and muscle tension in face, eye, and head, and that is okay. That's what you want to follow that with. That's exactly what you want to follow that with. The slippery slope of overthinking your symptoms, of course, winding up into a bunch of second fear, ending up in a bunch of second fear, worry, problem solving, debating, arguing, obsessing, ruminating, so many different labels you could use there, but it's all destructive, and it's what keeps you on edge. It's what keeps your nerves on edge. The release isn't allowed to happen, so to speak, without you adding to it when you go that route. Find that accepting inner voice and use it. Use it. Most importantly, use it. BRB, take your time, Sky. We're just chilling. Did you know a narwhal's tusk reveals its past living conditions? I did not know that, but now I do. Thank you for that. Kate with the random trivia. Hi, hello. How are you doing? Welcome. Welcome, weary traveler. Sky said we have your back. And they said how? He's metaphorically speaking. We have your back, as in we are here to support you. I don't think I've ever seen a response to that statement quite like that before. Interesting. Soccer Mom, thank you so much. Here's a cute little cloud. Thank you so much, Soccer Mom. $10 tip. It says, when I have health anxieties, my anxiety brain tells me that I'm not as young as I used to be. So throw in whatever it can think of your way, right? And the goal here, when you're in the heat of the moment. Also, I think we got a $6 tip from Sky too. So let's do the math on that, and then we'll answer that question. We got $6 tip from Sky, $10 tip from Soccer Mom. 24. See, I get it eventually. I'm just a little slow. 24. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, Sky, Soccer Mom. Why haven't I been doing top tippers tonight? I forgot about that. When I have health anxieties, my anxiety brain tells me that I'm not as young as I used to be. So the goal here, right? The goal here is going to be respond to that with the accepting inner voice. Now that could look something like this. How come all the people around me are not triggered by this? How come they're not freaked out about this? And there's plenty of people my age that are alive today that are not triggered by these things that I'm triggered by. That kind of puts a hole in things. It kind of says, hey, what's going on here, right? You start to peek at the truth a little bit. Why is nobody else so triggered about this? Well, maybe it's because I have wired my brain to be this way, and maybe I can get to a place where I'm like everybody else that's not worried about this thing. So it starts to kind of bring you back to reality a little bit. Okay, I've got some bad wiring going on. So instead of trying to problem solve or argue with the thought that says, hey, you're this old and you're not as young as you used to be, instead of trying to problem solve that and fight with that and argue with that and obsess and ruminate over that, you can say, okay, well, nobody else is, my age is worried about this, so I've got some bad wiring, so I don't have to fight with that. I just got to realize that I've got some bad wiring, accept it for what it is, live my life. I can reverse this bad wiring, and I can get to a place where I'm not so bothered by that. So kind of grounds you a little bit. Read the PayPal note. Okay, let me do that. Let me see here. From Katelit the Greatlet. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that was that was the tip note from Sky on the $6 tip there. From Kate, basically, in simple terms. From Kate, basically. So we've had 2 tips tonight, dedicated in Kate's name. And that takes us to a grand total of 24. Thank you, guys. So let's see, that would make, oops, click that. That would make our top tipper for tonight, Soccer Mom. Yep. And let's see, Sky. Yep. Hope I'm doing this right. And technically, Kate would be the next top. Yeah. I think I did that right. I think so. Should have done that earlier, but top tippers on the post screen here is something that I quite literally just started like last stream, so I forgot all about it. But there we go. Better late than never. Just a little something to give people more credit. Get their name up there. And as long as the streams are here, cataloged away on our channel, anyone who watches them in the future will see that you are an MVP. So just a little bit more credit, giving people credit where credit is due. You guys might have to remind me every now until I get used to it. They're like, yo, you haven't done top tippers, and then I'll fix it. Can I vote who wants a skull meat stream by me? You got your channel ready to go? Let's do it. I'll subscribe. I'll be one of your first subscribers. Do skulls have meat? Don't answer that. The big old noggin floating around in your skull. That's your skull meat. I might organize it. If you do, you can let us know next stream. If you would like to. Or just catch us by surprise. Did you know that the moon has moonquakes, like the earth has earthquakes? I guess that makes sense, right? You wouldn't call a quake on the moon an earthquake. So that makes sense. Just never thought about it. I have learned a few things tonight. Brains, yummy. That big spongy thing that's slightly wired the wrong way. Floating around in there, yeah. That's your skull meat. Same two main keys but backwards. I like it. Seriously considering it. What are you gonna start making? What are you gonna start making videos on, or streams rather? On your journey, random tangents might call it that. Now you need to see if that's taken. See if that's taken. I know random tangents with Sky is probably not taken. Random tangents maybe, probably taken, I'd say. Not a bad idea, Kate. Not a bad idea. The moon is created with when a planet-sized object collided with Earth, broke off a chunk of the Earth. This is real. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that word. I don't know about that one. I don't know. I'd have to do a little research myself on that one. That one, That one sounds kind of hard to believe there. But who knows, right? Who the hell knows? Sounds ridiculous, but really look it up. It actually happened. Let's see. I'm going to look it up because, I mean, it sounds believable. Most widely accepted today is the giant impact theory. It proposes that the moon formed during a collision between the Earth and another small planet about the size of Mars. The debris from this impact collected in an orbit around Earth to form the moon. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So you weren't pulling my leg there. Looks like it checks out. It looks like it checks out. How the moon was formed. Okay. All right, 1 second, ladies and gents. I will be right back. Hello, I have returned. Like family, but better. We love you too, Sky. Like family, but better. Biggest problem is I feel like I'm checking out, like it's hard to accept this. Checking out, can you elaborate a little bit? Constantly feeling my body is either going to convulse or just shut off. So it's a thought, an intrusive thought, or a worry, right? And, you know, we talked about tonight, Charles, this is not something that you would have given any thought to before, right? So that's proof enough that if you base that off of who you used to be compared to now, proof enough that there's nothing to solve, and it all has to be chalked up as, okay, I've got some bad wiring going on. The old me wouldn't have given this so much credit, right? The old me wouldn't have thought about this so much. The old me wouldn't be ruminating like this. The old me wouldn't be triggered over this. So that kind of, you know, points at the fact, hey, we got some bad wiring going on. Anything to get you to stop the obsession about it and just come to the realization and accept the fact that there's some bad wiring going on. That's okay. There's nothing that needs to be done about it. In fact, trying to do all this stuff about it is the reason that you keep obsessing and ruminating and making it worse. What are you eating and drinking? I don't know how many people can relate to this, but put you some chili cheese Fritos on a hamburger bun. Quick snack. How many people here have had a chip sandwich? A chip sandwich is very good. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. Maybe I'm weird, but it's very good. Exactly, before I would not give a crap, which is all the proof in the world that you've just got some bad wiring going on, and there's nothing you need to do about it. Just need to accept it for what it is. So that can help you get rid of that rumination. Just to remember that fact. Just to remember that fact. T-Rex was the smartest chimps. I did not know that. They also could not run like the movies made them out to. The weight would have broken their legs. I wouldn't bore anyone with dinosaur facts though. That's true. I see that as being true. I could see that being true. I wonder how we can measure the intelligence of dinosaurs. That's also a good question. I'm not sure, considering we don't have any. Yeah, it's the feeling that gets everybody. Like, whatever starts it. The trigger can be like a thought or something, but then the feeling comes in and that makes you worry about the trigger. But you don't need to fight with, try to figure out or solve the trigger that started the feeling. And that's not to say sometimes the feeling can't come on just from tired nerves, but the point is you drop the obsession just by remembering, oh, okay, just some bad wiring going on. Nothing I need to do or can do about it. So it helps you get out of the rumination. Didn't they discover that T-Rex had feathers? I think, like, somewhat recently they've started to kind of piece together that dinosaurs more than likely had feathers. I've heard that, yeah. And how do we even know what they really sounded like? You know what I mean? Like in the movies? How do we know that they didn't sound like chihuahuas? You know what I mean? Like a poodle. They could have. They very well could have. You know, they've always got like the ferocious roar going on in the movies. How do we know that they didn't actually sound like a chihuahua with their little screechy barks? We don't know that. We don't know that. It's possible. It's possible. Stegosaurus was awesome at charades. I don't even know which one that is. Roughly compare the intelligence of different animals by brain size. Well, that makes sense. I can kind of see that. What makes dinosaurs so fascinating? Children, we just don't know everything yet. True. And probably never will. Probably never will. Hey, mysteries are fun. Mysteries are fun. Hey, I do know that whales are very intelligent. Would you go to a real Jurassic Park after watching all the movies? I'm not talking about a fake Jurassic. I'm talking about a real Jurassic Park, real dinosaurs. After seeing what happened in all the movies, would you do it? I definitely would, yes. Take my chances. It's the underwater dinosaurs that I guess are the coolest slash scariest to me. I can't tell if Sanchez is surprised because he thought older or younger. won't go because, not because of fear, but because I don't know if it's worth my time. You're telling me you wouldn't go look at dinosaurs because you don't think it's worth your time? If looking at dinosaurs is not worth your time, then Jesus Christ, what is worth your time? I think it's fair to say that if looking at actual real dinosaurs would not be considered worth your time, I don't think anything would be considered worth your time at that point. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you're not into dinosaurs. That's okay. Read an article that dinosaurs never existed and the museum bones are fake. Ooh, conspiracies. Conspiracies. Everything is fake. Went to Japan 7 years ago. It was awesome. I read a lot of articles that said Japan is an awesome place to visit, like on vacation. But people get super depressed if they move there. I don't know what that's about. I watched like a short video on it. What if the conspiracy theorists that we all call crazy are actually right and we're just stupid? Hey, you never know. Question everything. You guys think I should start putting what we talk about in the hangout portion of the stream in the title of the stream, like at the end? So it would read something like stop blaming your triggers, rewire your brain, and then on the end it would be like, are dinosaurs real? Would that make more people want to click on the streams? I wonder. I've considered it in the past. Dragons were humanity's first attempt at explaining dinosaur bones. Now that makes sense. That makes sense to me. That would, yeah, that would work. You treat feelings exactly the same as thoughts? Yes, because obsession, fighting, rumination, arguing, any of that second fear type stuff is not going to solve anything. It's always going to make the problem worse. Always. So as far as anxiety is concerned, yeah, you gotta leave it alone. You watch Game of Thrones? I did not. I personally did not. Gotta go. Hey, thank you for stopping by, Sky. Appreciate it. The 80 movies with Ringo. We have covered a very wide variety of topics tonight. Probably one of our more diverse streams, I would say. Easily one of our most diverse streams. You seen it, Wonder Bro? I've not. I'm not huge into movies. I'll watch series every now and then because I can handle them in 30 minutes like intervals, but a movie's got to be really good for me to want to sit through the whole thing. Get bored easily. Sea life came before any land creature. I think Mars life came before any man or land or sea life. Mars life came first. Highly intelligent creatures, right? More than we could ever comprehend. Just so far ahead of their time. Basically, just so that we humans would not be aware of our own consciousness and the power of our own consciousness. We were placed in a simulation by these extremely intelligent advanced beings, and we're all in capsules, right, where our consciousness is kept. And yeah, and they did that because they were very smart. They were very intelligent. They didn't want us humans to understand, right, our own power and somehow maybe get ahead of them. And so we wouldn't get ahead of them and overtake them and overthrow them. They enslaved us all in capsules where we keep our consciousness, and everything is a simulation that they're in control of. Which is very smart of the Mars people to do. It's a safety precaution. They don't want us to become wiser or recognize our own power. So, you know, just put us all in a trance, put us all in a simulation, and keep our consciousness alive in a capsule. So here we are. That's why we only have access to 20% of our brain's capabilities, because they don't want us to have access to the other 80%, or else it could get dangerous. So better to put us in a trance and lock our consciousness away. Very smart move. Now, how we break out of the simulation, I'm not sure. We'll have to watch The Matrix to figure that out. I think there's keys to that in those movies. We're all made up of stardust. I can agree with that. His emotional numbness, last phase of recovery. If thinking that makes you worry less, then absolutely. I hope you get my point with that answer. Whatever makes you worry less, you go for it. And we don't care what it is or how you word it. If it makes you worry and ruminate and obsess less, yes. Alright guys, I'll be completely honest. I am so freaking tired. I can barely hold my eyes open. Not gonna go to bed because I've already slept long enough. So, how do you treat anxiety towards death? It's the same as any trigger. I used to be triggered over the topic of death, but once you start accepting the triggers, so you accept the thoughts and feelings and you're no longer arguing with them, you see them right through without the rumination and argue and worry, your brain will start to treat it as not a trigger in time, right? So context is irrelevant. Whatever your trigger is, it's all treated the same way. That's how, I went from that being a trigger to not being a trigger. It's all the same. Alright guys, I can barely function at this point. I don't know, maybe go get some more food or something. I am not worried about tip goal. I'm not going to keep streaming, and because I feel like I'm about to get really boring with how tired I am. So I'm not going to put you guys through that. I'm not worried about tip goal. We had an amazing, awesome stream about 2 weeks ago where we absolutely destroyed the tip goal. So we're going to use our get out of jail free card, and we're going to move that up to 155 days, because we did have a get out of jail free card, right? Can somebody back me up on that? Did we say that day that we got like I don't know, it was a ridiculous amount. It was like 200 and something. Did we use that get out of jail free card or did we not? I don't think we ever used it. But I think I'm going to use it tonight, because I'm about to get real boring. I can sense it. I'm losing all function. I am losing all function. All I need from somebody in chat is to tell me that we had one more get out of jail free card, and I'm going to use it. And not feel bad about it. I think we did, but I don't remember. Feel a storm coming again. Actually, the forecast is like 80 degrees all week. 80 degrees all week. But who knows, that could change. We had a terrible storm today, but I was asleep, so I slept through it. The power went out once. That woke me up for a second, but I went right back to bed. Sure we do. Why not? We're gonna pull it then. That's all I needed. Ugh, that's all I needed. Let's see. Let's go find our song. I've been forgetting to play the song and using the end screen, so it's been cutting the streams off early. I'm gonna try not to do that anymore. Where's it at? Alright, so let's get that. That'll be coming up next. All I needed was for Kate to tell me that we had a pass, so we're going to use that pass. Anyway, I love you guys so much. We're going to start winding it down. Thank you guys for everything. It's a joke. See, I can't even function well enough at the moment to realize what's a joke and what's not. We are losing all brain function at the moment. My battery has went to 0 for no reason. I don't know why. But yeah, anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for an awesome stream. I appreciate you. And I'm sure I'll see you all very, very soon in the next one. Until next time, as always, stay awesome.
I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. Did it die? Yeah. Did it die? Did it die? I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Whatever you want, I'll be whatever you want. Just tell me you love me or not, whatever it costs. I know I'm talking a lot, there's something I gotta get off. Don't wanna be this no more, I don't wanna drink no more. Always gotta do the most, thinking that I'm insecure. Really should've listened more, but I don't of course. I'm an asshole, I'm a good guy, I'm your best friend, I'm the worst type. Tell you everything that you heard right, just so I can fuck on the first night. Feel like I'm losing hope, running from coast to coast. I don't know where to go, this all I've ever known. I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. No. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. Won't die. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? My aunt think I'm perfect, I know I'm not. My mama be worried, I told her stop. They know I did drugs and think that I'm off. Little do they know I never could stop. My manager hate when I'm pulling up late. Back on my bullshit, she think it's a phase. I got relations I gotta maintain. I'm two different people, my side and my main. Yeah, I'm sober, I'm an addict, I'm a low life, I got habits, but I refuse to be average. Really so tired of acting, don't know what I miss no more. Too bad you don't hit me more. I'm bad when I get too bored, careful what you wishing for. I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire.